Good morning, everybody. Okay. Um, I'm excited to be here because this is one of my favorite topics. It's something that shame is work that I've been doing for a long time, and that's what we're going to talk about today. But what I noticed is when I heard this topic of non-attachment, how well it connected to shame and how well it was kind of a solution for moving through some of the shame-based stuff that we deal with. So I'm going to teach you all about that today. There'll be time to ask questions. There might even be time for coaching. We'll definitely be doing like a subconscious practice. If you've ever done any work with me before, I like to coach much more in the subconscious than in the conscious. So we will definitely get to that today as well. So we'll talk about what non-attachment is, and then we'll have kind of a discussion together about it, and then we'll move into a subconscious practice to help split us from our attachments. Now, this isn't the kind of attachment where, like, for the last several years, I've talked about secure attachment and parenting and stuff like that. It's not that kind of attachment. It's a different kind of attachment. So, okay, pen, paper, if you want to grab a drink or anything, you can. And we will get started. So first of all, thanks for being here. If this is your first thing that you've ever come to with me, I'm Crystal. On Instagram, I'm the parenting coach. I don't do as much parenting coaching anymore. I do a lot of shame-free coaching, a lot of intuitive life and business coaching. And I love to present. I love having workshops like this where we get to know each other and work through some of our barriers and stuff. So that's what we'll do today. So go back to that chat bubble. And if you're new, if you haven't yet told us, tell us where you're tuning in from. There's a few more people that just joined. Okay. And also, I would love to hear what you know about attachment. So again, we're not talking about like the secure attachment, parenting, avoidant attachment, that kind of a thing. But do you know much about detachment, non-attachment when it comes to like energy or I first heard about this principle through Buddhism. So if anyone knows anything about this, I would love to hear what you think attachment may or may not be. And you can just type those responses in the chat there. If you have no idea, you're in the right place also. But if you've already done some of this work, I know some of you probably know a little bit about this. Just let us know. What do you think attachment is, or detaching from something? And I'll share my screen in a minute also to share some things. It's totally fine if nobody knows too, but I just wanted to see. I like to ask first just to see kind of where we're at in the beginning. Don't know. Okay. Yeah. Totally cool. Nobody needs to know, but if you have an idea, let me know. Okay. Oh, Heather. Oh, hi, Heather. Heather sent us a really cool video that I'm going to share you a clip from because it's really good. Attachment is when we allow things to own us. Detachment is being able to have stuff and relationships without allowing them to consume us. Yes. And I'm going to go even beyond just the stuff consuming us to social media followers, to our weight, to the way that we look externally, to launches in our business, to promotions at work. So not just objects, but consumption of things outside of ourselves. Monica, I feel like it's being bonded to something. Yeah. Often when I go into like my subconscious mind stuff, which this might sound a little bit different if you've never done any subconscious coaching, and I start to kind of meditate on it, I often see like a cord, like a big, strong cord. And it feels like this cord is connecting me to this thing, to this future thing that I want, or to this person, or to something that they said. And it feels like exactly like Monica said, it feels like this bond, and like not in a good way. And when I'm able to release that and feel totally different about it, I kind of notice it fizzle away. And I actually feel that's where true intimacy and true connection can come in, when we don't have that such a strong like bond attachment to it. Okay, Sandy, the art of not giving an F. Yeah. Heather, yes, beyond ego. Yeah. Okay. So you're in the right space if you have no idea what attachment is, and you are in the right space if you love attachment stuff. And I'm going to share a couple of things here. So I'm going to share my screen so that you can see it. Okay. So I shared this the other day on social media. Maybe you saw it, maybe you didn't. But by oneself, the evil is done. By oneself, one suffers. By oneself, evil is left undone. By oneself, one is purified. Purity and impurity belong to oneself. No one can purify another. So as we're working on this today, I want you to just be reminded that you are actually your own expert. I'm not here as just this expert that knows all of this stuff about attachment. I want you to be listening to the ideas and insights that come into you. Because your intuition, your wisdom is actually the thing that's going to guide you and heal you and take you on the path the most, more than anything else. And I think sometimes we don't think that. I think sometimes we think that it's somebody else that can help us through, but there's nothing that I know more than what you know inside. And along that vein, if something resonates with you that I speak about, it's because it feels like truth inside you. I once was at a workshop and I just loved so much what the speaker was talking about. And she paused and she was like, if you're agreeing with me here, if you're feeling like, yes, kidding, it's because you actually already had that knowledge inside you. You already had that truth somewhere inside you. I'm just speaking it out and reminding you of something that you already knew. So keep that in mind as well. Be thinking about what insights are coming to you, what intuitive hits are coming to you. Write those down as we're going through this, even if it has nothing to do with what I'm saying, because those will be important. Okay, let's see if I can. All right. So this quote came from we're going to actually watch the little video clip in a second. But Jay Shetty was sharing about the Bhagavad Gita in this clip that we're going to share. And he says, detachment doesn't mean that you can't own anything. It just means that nothing owns you. So you can be surrounded by people and by things, but they're not owning you. And we're going to talk about what owning means in a minute. This is kind of my description of attachment. Attachment is looking for my worth in something external. So I'm looking for something outside of myself to fill this hole that I feel like is inside of myself. It's giving my internal power away to that thing. So for instance, if I feel like in business, I do a lot of like launches or offers or whatever. If I do a launch and it doesn't go the way that I planned and I feel really terrible inside, it's actually because if it had gone the way I planned or the way that I wanted, then I would be able to believe something different about myself. I would be able to feel different. I would be able to feel more worth, more value, more enough. If any of you have done any shame work, shame, the description of shame that I share with people is not enoughness. It's some area where I just feel fundamentally flawed. I feel like there's something wrong with me, or I feel like I'm not enough. And again, this isn't necessarily conscious. Consciously, you might be like, yeah, I'm doing a great job, or, oh, I'm really good at my position, or I really love myself, or I really love my body, or whatever it is that you feel consciously. I often find that our conscious mind and our unconscious mind are not aligned. Like, unconsciously, I might believe exactly the opposite of what my conscious mind believes. So just be open to this. If you're thinking like, no, I actually feel really good about these things. Just see like, is there any attachment, and where is my attachment? So where I first heard about this is through Buddhism. And it's this concept called pretas. So in Buddhism, they believe in reincarnation, and you die and you are born again. And if you've had a lot of desire, if you've had over desire in your past life, then you are reborn as a pretas. A pretas is a hungry ghost. And I love this imagery here of a hungry ghost. A hungry ghost is a being that just roams the earth and eats and drinks and consumes everything, but is never able to feel full. Never feel satiated, no matter how much they consume. That is what I imagine with this enoughness. Where am I looking for my worth, for feeling fulfilled, for feeling good, for belief, for some outside feeling that I'm looking for to fill me on the inside? So in Buddhism, hungry ghosts or pretas are beings who are tormented by desire that can never be sated. There's a story here on the same article, and he talks about how it was this man who grew up really poor, and eventually he was able to get a job, and then he was able to get a better job, and eventually he was able to afford a car, and eventually he had an apartment, and then eventually he like bought his own apartment, and he realized that no matter how much he got, no matter how many physical possessions he was able to receive, or accolades, or promotion, or income, he constantly was reaching for more. He never got to the point where he finally felt like it was enough. And that's actually when he heard about Buddhism and he heard about this concept, and then he became a monk. So his name is Sensei Alex Kakuyo. The other thing that I want to mention here, this is also from Buddhism, and this is an article called Without Possession by I'm probably not going to say this right, Byuk-Jung Sunim. And he talks about, I'll just share a little bit of this. Somebody gave him orchids. I can't remember who it was that gave him orchids, but somebody gave him orchids. He's a monk. He doesn't have very many possessions. Okay. These were presents from a monk whom I moved to this hermitage 3 years ago. Since I lived alone, the only living things were these plants and myself. I found books on orchids and read up on them. I asked friends to buy me fertilizer for them. In the summer, I moved them to shaded areas. In the winter, I raised the heat for them to a higher degree than I needed for myself. If I had treated my parents with the same devotion, I would have been praised as a very filial son. So I raised these orchids for the joy of cherishing them. In the early spring, yellow-green flowers would blossom with a faint fragrance to make my heart flutter. The leaves would always be fresh like the waxing moon. Every single person who visited my hermitage would enjoy my bright orchids. Last summer, during a break from the rains, I went to see my old master at Bongxia Temple. When midday came around, the sun, which the rains had long shut out, shone brightly as the voices of cicadas rang out from the forest to blend the sounds of the running brook. Oh, suddenly at this moment, a thought occurred to me. I had left the orchids out in the yard. All of a sudden, I began to resent the long-awaited shining sun. I could see my orchid leaves going limp in the hot sun. I couldn't bear it. I hurriedly went back home. Just as I feared, the leaves had dried out in the sun. With utter regret, I brought over some spring water to moisten the leaves, and they came back to life a little. However, the fresh aliveness seemed to have gone. Suddenly, at that very moment, a very strong sense arose within my whole body and mind. I realized then that attachment is suffering. It was true. I had strong mental attachment to my orchids. I resolved to free myself from this attachment. When I was cultivating the orchids, I couldn't travel around as I normally had done. When I had outside business, I would make sure to leave the window open a little for good circulation. And it wasn't just once or twice when I had to return to my room to bring in the orchids. This was truly intense attachment. After a few days, a friend who was as quiet as the orchids came to visit me. I quickly handed over to him my orchids. I felt for the first time I was free from the bondage of it. Thanks to the orchids, I came to understand a sense of meaning of non-attachment. So I share that with you because when I first read that, I'm going to stop my screen share for a minute. It's a simple story just about orchids, but what was happening was giving the power away too. It was like this beautiful day and it was like sunshiny and so nice. And he was really enjoying it. And then like the joy suddenly left because all he could think about was like worrying about these orchids and were they going to be okay and all of these things. So attachment, again, you don't have to get rid of your orchids. You don't have to get rid of all of your things to get rid of attachment, which is what we're going to do together today. But it is giving your power away in some way to something external. And I want you to just ponder for a minute. This can be your first little journaling exercise. If you have a paper and a pen, just to write down, what are the things that I might think that maybe I give my power away to? Is it something in business, something at my job? Is it the way that I look externally, something on a weight scale? Is it some goal that I have? What are the things you feel like you might be giving your power away to? You can keep thinking about that and just adding to that list as we go through today. We're going to watch this little clip. I'm going to make sure that you can also hear it. Okay. So you should be able to also hear this. So this is Jay Shetty, and he's talking about focusing our mind.
There's a beautiful verse in the Bhagavad Gita that says that detachment is not that you own nothing. Detachment is that nothing owns you. And I love it because to me that summarizes detachment in a way that it's not usually explained. Usually people see detachment as being away from everything. Actually, the greatest detachment is being close to everything and not letting it consume and own you. And that's real power, that's real strength. How many people do we know that have had fame and then that fame has ruined them? So for me, that definition of detachment is possible to practice even in the real world. rather than saying, oh, I'm just gonna have a really simple life, I'm just gonna have nothing in life. Being able to overcome ego, being able to overcome envy, being able to overcome jealousy, being able to overcome the negative of competitive state. There's a positive competitive state and there's a negative competitive state. Today, when people are looking on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, all you're looking at is, oh, she got that many likes, or he got that many likes, she got engaged, or he got married, or, oh my God, look at her body, or look at that. And it's like, that stuff's destroying us inside. Envy, jealousy, ego, greed. To be able to have enough clarity to purify yourself of those things is gonna alleviate the biggest anxieties and depressions of our time and mental health problems.
Okay. So, attachment. Let's figure out what our attachments are, because the reason that I am so excited about this topic is because as I've been able to figure out how to energetically detach, figure out where my attachments are, where I'm connecting this like ego, where I'm connecting this enoughness to some external thing and then release them. That has been where I've been able to consciously create. And by conscious creation, I mean like manifestation or reception. So if you're interested in any of these things, manifestation would be like thinking something into existence. Conscious creation is believing something spiritually before you get it in your hands naturally. And I find that often what's blocking us from manifestation is our own self-worth. What's blocking us from manifestation is our energy, because energy is actually what calls things in, our energy about the thing. And if we have this like attachment to it, what I found is that we're actually keeping ourselves at arm's length from it. That like the more that I want something and the more that I feel attached to that want, to that urgency, to that need, the farther away it becomes. It becomes even more elusive. It becomes even more impossible. So yes, do I think that manifestation is totally possible? Absolutely. But it comes from our energy. And our energy is intrinsically tied to our level of self-worth. If I don't believe that I'm worthy enough to receive the thing that's out there for me to receive, I'm going to block myself from that reception. So when I think about manifestation, I think about reception. It's receiving something that's already out there for me, believing that it's possible for me, and believing it into existence. And the only thing blocking me from that is this self-worth, is this attachment. Okay, any questions about that before we figure out what our attachments are? Or we do the fun part? And if you're like, oh, I'm not attached to anything, we'll just see. Just keep your mind open, see what happens. Any questions or comments about attachment before we get into our exercise? Okay, if you ever do, you can type them in the chat, or you can also raise your hand on Zoom. There's a little react button at the bottom. You can raise your hand. And if you're watching the recording of this, you can just send me an email or a DM on Instagram and share your questions or comments with me. Okay, so you're gonna get out a piece of paper and a pen, and you're going to put a line down the center. And we're gonna start on the right-hand side of the line over here. And on this right-hand side of the line, I want you to write down anything that you would like. So this is like a, wouldn't it be cool if, like in the future, if anything was possible, what would I want to create? So it can be some goal that you've had for a long time. It can have to do with business, your body, your relationships, wealth, whatever you want it to be. I want you just to go ahead and we're just going to write down. We're going to spend 2 minutes. You can just write down anything you want there. Anything that would be possible. It can be specific outcomes you want in your relationship. It can be some way that you want somebody else to change or a relationship you want to change. can be really general with this, but you can also be really specific. Put something like super specific that you want to call in. If you could manifest anything, what it would be. After you've written down a few of these, I would love to hear some of them. So if you want to type it in the chat, you don't have to type in everything. But if there's anything specific that you want to share. Okay, 30 more seconds. And then if you want to share anything, type those in the chat. And draw a little image on here. Okay, keep writing those in. And we'll share them in a minute. Okay, you might not be able to read them. I will read it to you. Okay, so let's read a couple of these first. So for those of you that just joined, we are just writing down anything that we want to create. So anything at all, any goal that we have, anything that we would like to change. If you could wave a magic wand, what you would want to be different. And you're writing that down on the right-hand side of a page with a line down the center. Okay, Pam, all my business paperwork done at the end of each day and at the end of each month. Yeah, Monica, a simpler life, less stuff, more people time, travel, peace to read and relax and do. Heather, more energy, better rest, a small studio space dedicated to practice, to be a facilitator of miracles for others. Shared home space with my BF and his family. Love that. Kids thriving, less reactiveness, more flowy, house renovations, effective communication in marriage, feeling more energized, less mental fatigue. More comfortable furniture, financial power to do and give more freely, a house cleaner. Have a peaceful, fun home full of laughs, dancing, playing, games, nights, family meetings, and organized home that runs on autopilot. These are all awesome. If you think of any more, keep adding them to that. Okay, so I'm going to share this. I was trying to write it out for you because I thought it might be tricky to share this book, but this is one of my mentor coaches. Her name's Amber Smith, and she wrote this little book on Amazon you can get called Quiet Wealth. And so this is what she talks about when it comes to attachment. I'm going to share this here and then I'll show you. So there's detachment and attachment on opposite sides, and then clear desires and unclear desires. So I have that up here. If you can see detachment up here and attachment over here, clear desires here, unclear desires here. So what we just did was we got really clear on our desires. Oh, I forgot to stop my music. There we go. we're getting really clear on our desires, and you can get even more clear. You can get even more specific to that. Like, what exactly would I like for this to be? And how exactly would I like this to happen? I'm Sandy, a property that doubles as a couples retreat center and a food forest. Oh, cool. That'd be very cool. Okay, so you can write as much as you want. You can get as clear as you want. Unclear desires we have over here. And so what we have is this kind of this diagram where if you are attached to something, I'll start with me. I'm always very attached, but I have really clear desires. Like I know exactly what I want in my business, what I want in my life, what I want in my relationships, but I'm also very attached. Well, I'm often over here in this quadrant of obsess and control. So I'm trying to make it happen. I'm trying to make it work. I'm trying to like figure out all the different things. I work a lot when I'm in obsess and control because even when I'm not working, I'm continuously thinking about work. This is the quadrant I find myself in the most. Over here, if you have unclear desires, but you're really attached, then you're comparing and despairing, right? That's like scrolling Instagram and being like, oh, I wish I could do that. Or like, oh, it looks like she has a really awesome life. I wish I could have. You don't really know what you want, but you are really attached to like needing something outside yourself, feeling like what you're doing is not enough. And so you're comparing to a lot of people around you. Over here, detachment and unclear desires is chill chaos. This is where my husband lives. This is like we're exact opposites in pretty much everything in life, but especially this. He's very chill. Like he doesn't really care to have super clear desires, but he's just like good with himself and with life. So he's just like Zen, like, yeah, everything's great, but also unclear desires, right? And you also can't really manifest or create from that area if you don't even really know what it is that you're trying to manifest because you're not calling it in, you're not receiving it. You wouldn't even know what it was if it came. So over here is the space that we want to be in when we're detaching. It's when detachment meets clear desire. So I know exactly what I want in my relationship, in my goals, with my health, with my physical and mental health, with my business, whatever that is. I'm clear on what that is. I know what I want that to be, but I'm also very detached. And to me, detachment means also timing, right? I don't have to have it happen in exactly the time that I want, or even exactly the way that I want. I'm also open to like being fluid about it. Like maybe if I thought this was how I was going to get there and then this other path opens up, I'm like, oh yeah, like that's cool too. I'm not so attached to it that it has to happen in exactly that way. And manifestation often happens in that way. In fact, I've shared this before a long time ago, but my family and I were traveling full time around the world for the school year. And we were a few months in and I was reading and learning about manifestation and I'm like practicing it all the time. So my kids are talking about it all the time. They really wanted to manifest an airplane that had a movie on it. We did not have movie airplanes. We were traveling full time. We were getting like the most inexpensive budget airlines ever. None of them ever had TV screens. And they were like, I really, really want one with a movie. Anyways, so my son's sitting there and he's just like closing his eyes and like zenning out. I didn't know what he was doing. And I like asked him and he's like, I'm trying to manifest that like when we get onto that airplane, because we were like waiting to board or whatever, he's like, that it's going to have a movie. And in my mind, I'm like, there's no way. Like this airplane does not have a movie for sure. Like we're only flying for like an hour. Anyways, so then he turned to me and he's like, I'm having a hard time believing it and you're way better at manifestation. Can you manifest it for me? And I was like, I don't know. This feels like way out of my reach. Anyway, so I was like, you know what? I'll try. So I sat there for a minute and I just kind of meditated and I just kind of visualized, and I didn't visualize like specifically having like a movie theater or movie screen there. I just imagined like us having a good time and it being really like fun and our flight going way better than we thought. And it I really manifested the energy of it. This is what I do best. I manifest the energy of things. So I manifested that energy. Anyways, we get onto the airplane and we only had like one device at that time. Maybe two. So I'm trying to like download movies. They're not working. We're in another country. We were on like a really quick layover. So the Wi-Fi connection wasn't working. I wasn't able to like download on my data. Anyways, so I asked the stewardess because we saw something that looked like it was a movie screen that like popped down. So we asked the stewardess, like, what is that? And she was like, oh, it is. But like, it's only just to track your flight. It doesn't actually show movies. And she's like, oh, do you guys not have like phones that do that? And we're like, we can't get them to work. So she went to the back and like unlocked from this little bin her phone that she keeps locked in there, brought it out to me and was like, I'm not supposed to do this, but here, like, just use mine. So she like hotspotted from like her Wi-Fi so we could get Wi-Fi so that we could download the things. So we were able to download all these movies on our phone. And then she like went and took her phone back or whatever. And then this other flight attendant also like the whole time kept coming and like giving my kids extra snacks and like making sure they had water and like all these things were supposed to be like on a budget plane, like paid for, but just kept coming and checking on them. And it ended up being like the most fun flight. And we also were able to get movies downloaded on our phone so that our kids could watch them. And it was a totally different way that it came about. Like that is not how I manifested it. But the story that I wanted to share, this story I wanted to share was because I was completely unattached from like how it was going to happen. I just knew we were going to have a good flight. And when we are so attached to exactly how we want it to work, sometimes we block how it wants to come in. So for instance, if in my business, I want like it to be this really specific way, I want to work with these kinds of clients, or I want this specific promotion at work or whatever, we might be so attached to it that we actually block ourselves from something that is trying to come in, some positivity that's trying to come in. Okay, questions or comments about that before we go to step 2? All right, so step 2, you can interrupt me whenever you want. Okay, thanks, Heather. Isn't that a fun story? I have so many fun like manifestation stories with my kids because my kids are all about it now. Okay, so step 2, I want you to go back to that list that you wrote, right on the right-hand side column where you wrote down all the things like, if it's possible, what all the things are that I want to create. I did manifest a personal trainer. Jazz just posted in that. So Jazz is my personal trainer. And I had decided that my goal for this year, my intention for this year was to work on my body. And I was doing it from this very detached way. Anyways, I could tell an entire story about how I've been detaching from body shame and stuff for a long time. But I wanted to I was like, you know, what would be great if I could find like somebody who could come to my house and exercise with me. And I live in a really tiny town. And I was like, immediately my mind was like, I don't think that happens here. Like, I don't think you have to live in a bigger city for that. Anyways, and like the next day I met Jazz and now he's my personal trainer. So, again, detaching from how you think it's going to be or the impossibility of it. So we're going to figure out the energy that you have for all the things that you just wrote down, because it is the energy in which we manifest that makes the manifestation happen. We are going to completely block ourselves from reception of it if we're not in the right energy. So, if we're in attachment energy, I guess would be the way to say that. So I want you to go down and look on your right-hand side list that you wrote down. And I want you to circle anything that feels hurried, like you're in a hurry about it, rushed, needy or graspy, like, oh, I have to get that. And also completely impossible. Like when you read it, you're like, maybe somebody else could do this, but there's no way in heck that it's ever happening to me. Okay, I'm going to write down those energies. Okay. So keep going, circling those things. Do like an energetic check if you need to close your eyes, if you need to kind of like zen out for a minute and be like, hey, how am I feeling about this one? Because sometimes you can feel like you're feeling good, but when I like close my eyes and I pause and I like tap into it, I can kind of feel like a pull. I can kind of feel an attachment to some things, like even if it's like a lower level attachment. So I want you to circle all of those ones. When we are in attachment energy, there's only 2 options. The 2 options in attachment energy are control and apathy. Control is needy, graspy, rushed, hurried, because the belief under the surface is actually, I'll never get there, or this will never work, or this isn't meant for me, or I couldn't do this, or there's something wrong with me, in which means that I can't get there, or whatever. Or we go all the way onto the other side, which is apathy, which is like the opposite of control. It's like anti-control. And it's impossible. It'll never happen. Again, the beliefs under the surface are actually pretty similar on both ends of these, control and apathy. So keep going through those. Just do that energetic check. If you need to close your eyes, pause for a minute. Do I feel hurried, rushed, graspy energy, or do I feel impossible about that? And then I want you to share again in the chat, what are some things that feel like either sides of these for you? Or did you feel like all of them you felt really good about? Where are we at with this? Is there a lot that we feel these energy in? When I first did this, I think it was like almost every single one. I was feeling control energy. And the reason that I share this kind of continuum is because both are actually the same. Both come from like, it's never going to happen. Like when I'm in control and like rushed and energy and hurried and I'm going to make this happen, it's actually because I don't think it's going to happen. Okay. Who wants to share? How many did you have that you felt this energy about versus how many did you have that you felt good about? Is there anything specific that you are feeling this way about? Okay. Hi, Sue. Okay, so live in a one-floor condo, all photographs / slides organized, retire without money worries. Is that the one you feel the control apathy about, Sue? Type a 1 in the chat. Those are the ones you feel this way about, or you feel a good way about. Monica, it feels like I will never have the money to breathe easy. Completely rushed, hurried, and stressed that my home will always be cluttered. Yes. So I'm going to have too much stuff and I'm going to have not enough money. Isn't that funny? I'm going to have too much and not enough at the same time. Those are usually the same too. The control apathy. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I definitely used to feel this way about some of my dreams for sure. Money was one of them. I felt that way about money often. What else did I feel that way about? Business. I always would feel about that way in business. I feel like super good about business. And then like literally the next second, I'd be like, never mind, nothing's working and it's never going to work. It would like go in this like, and it didn't really even have to do with like the circumstances around me. Yeah, it was just attachment. Okay, I didn't feel very needy, rushed, or hopeless with any, but a couple stood out, wanting more physical energy and gaining momentum in business. I realized I go back and forth with either attack, control mode, or apathy shown by procrastinating. Yes, I totally found myself this way in business. I was like, it was this like ping pong back and forth. And since I've done this like detachment process, which we'll do together today, on my own, as I do that more and more and more, I have become so much less attached and I am getting way better results than I ever did in business. And I'm like, oh, it was my energy. It was like, because really it is always the energy that in which you sell something. So I'll talk to, like, I know not all of you are business owners, but for those of you that are, we think that we buy things logically, right? We think that we like think about them and we like write things out and we're like, oh, I know like the pros and cons and like then we make a decision, but we actually don't. It's actually the energy. It's actually we sell based on emotion, which like salespeople know, right? You go to the car dealership and they really try to get you like into it and you're like, and then you come home with a car that you didn't plan on coming home with. It's because it's the energy that sells you. That is what sells you. I was in a manifestation program for a year and it was fascinating to me because I kind of knew this process and I would see people come into her group and every single one of them, she'd be like, oh, so what made you join or whatever. And they always said it was her energy. They were like, I don't know, there was just something about like how I felt or whatever. And our brain logically comes up with like all of the reasons why it makes sense that we just purchased something, but that's not actually why we buy. We buy energetically first, and then our brain almost instantly comes up with all of the logical reasons that we should. Okay, Sandy, passive income, financial freedom feels controlled and impossible. Yeah. It feels like both at the same time. It's like I have to get there and also it will never happen. Since thyroidectomy due to cancer, I have had energy issues. Yeah. So, and which did you say, Heather, you wanted? Did you talk about wanting energy? Oh, physical energy. Yeah. Caitlin, I feel a mix of apathy and control about parenting reactiveness and secure attachment, which has pushed me to focus on things I can control in my house, which I find myself presently obsessively attached to how it looks, feels in each room. Yeah. I was definitely attached to like parenting outcomes for a long time. I was like, I need to be this kind of parent. And I think that like obsessively reading a lot of books and listening to a lot of podcasts made that worse because I was like, then I had this like really high expectation of how I wanted to parent. And I was so attached to it. Um, so the reason I wanted to point out where our attachments are is because in my mind, attachment is something that I feel not enough in right now. Like it won't happen for me. It's not possible for me to get there. And I need that thing in order for me to feel whole right now. I need to get financial freedom so that I can feel free right now. I need to get more energy so that I can feel better about myself or what I'm doing or what I'm not doing right now. I need to become a better parent so that I can finally feel good about myself. It has some amount of selfness in there, some amount of not enoughness, which is why I love that metaphor of the hungry ghost. Because the hungry ghost, as I read that article, I was thinking like what they're actually talking about here is shame. If I'm feeling not enough inside and I'm constantly consuming so that I can finally feel enough, it never gets satiated. My son also loves reading self-help and doing all of this stuff with me, my oldest son. And he sent me, he was telling me about a podcast that he was just listening to about a guy who had created a company that was $50 billion and he just sold it for $50 billion. And on the podcast interview, they're asking him, like, what are you going to do next? And he's like, well, I think I'm going to do it again. He's like, well, why are you going to do it again? And he's like, because it might have been a fluke. I have to prove to myself that it was me that did it. So no amount of money, right? He'd created a $50 billion company and his brain was still telling him that's not enough, or you're not enough, or it wasn't really you that did that. Because we often think once I get that thing, once I get financial freedom, once I become the kind of parent that I want to be, once I get the clients that I want to be, then I will feel enough now. Then I will finally feel good. But that's not actually how it works. We don't get there and feel that way. We get there and then feel like we need more. We need something different. There's again something else that's out there that's elusive to us. And it also keeps us farther away from those goals. Okay. Any questions or comments about that? This is the metaphor that came to me as I was thinking about this. I was thinking about these two rooms. For those of you that are in the Creation Room, my group program, I've already explained this to you probably before, but I want to share it with everybody today. So on the one side, we have the energy of shame, of despair, of self-doubt. This is attachment. This attachment energy. When I feel like I will finally be able to feel better when I get that thing, I will finally be able to love myself, feel whole, feel calm, feel free, whatever. That is attachment energy. And when I'm in this room, I think of them as two connected rooms. When I'm in this energetic room, I block myself from what I'm trying to manifest. I block myself from reception of whatever's trying to come in, even just positive energy, positive feeling in general. And the only two solutions, everything feels like a problem here. My brain's just like, this is a problem. Let's try and solve it. Got to solve this communication problem with my husband, or I got to solve this business problem, or I got to solve this financial problem. From this space, the only answers are control and apathy. That continuum that I just shared with you. My brain will only give me answers that are control or apathy. I'm going to share another experience with you. I don't think she's here today, but it's well, someone in the Creation Room shared this example. So last year, she is a coach and she's also a hairstylist, and she had broken her hand and she wasn't able to work. And in her mind, she was like, I have to, like, by this date, like, I just have to. Like, she was looking at her bank account and was like, this is how much money is in, this is how much money is going out. Like, there is no other solution. And so when I just pointed out, like, which room energetically do you feel like you're in? We'll get to the other room in a minute. And she was like, "Oh, I'm definitely in this room." And I was like, instead of trying to come up with like a solution at all, this is what I do myself. I'm like, I notice what my energy is, and then I just decide I'm not even going to come up with a solution until my energy is different. I'm just going to solve this as an energetic problem. I'm not going to look for a solution. Because in her mind, she was like, there's no way. I just have to like go back to work and like destroy my broken hand because it's not healed all the way, or like we'll lose our house, not be able to pay for food, not be whatever all of those things are. And she had a total miracle happen the next morning after she changed her energy, where somebody came in and paid this huge bill for her. But she wasn't expecting it. It came in a very different way than what she thought it was going to. But literally, the only thing that changed was her energy. And it came in an impossible way. Like to her mind, these were the only two possibilities. So I want you to think really clearly about this one, or really hard for a minute. Where in your brain are you feeling like there are only two answers, control or apathy? In what of those that you just circled, does it feel like there either is absolutely no answer and there's no way to solve it, or there is only one? Like, I have to control it. I have to figure this out. Like, I have to make this happen. And maybe just put a little star beside a couple of those, or just one. Whatever you feel like you've already thought about this, you've already come up with the answer, and like there's only one or the other answer there. Okay. On this side, on the other door, in the other room, where there's this little door connected, is trust energy. Trust is my word for 2025. And it's because of this whole concept. In trust energy, that's where I feel excited, or maybe I just feel like curious about something. I might even just feel neutral. Like I'm just like, I'm good. Like I feel okay. Like a positive neutrality, like calm or peace. That's also the space where I open myself up to the energy of intuition. And intuition being like, I trust myself. I trust a higher power than myself. And it can be God, it can be some belief in the universe, whatever your belief is. I trust that there is something higher that's out there that's for my good, and that what is happening is for my good. And this will all turn out for my good. That's what I feel like trust energy is. And the cool thing about being in trust energy is that there's infinite possibilities, like actually infinite possibilities. Like that client that I just told you about, where it just worked out in this like totally random, like she would have never been able to guess that that was going to happen. That is how it happens for me. Like I think I have this plan, and then I shift my energy, and then some idea comes, and then some like out there thing happens. Like this is the space for miracles. This is the space for, I had no idea, like I could have never even guessed that it was going to happen that way. And you can probably think back on your life to think about times when that happened. And you were like, whoa, I couldn't have even planned for that, yet it happened. When I am in trust energy and I live my life through intuition, that is when magical things happen that shouldn't happen, like that don't actually make logical sense. Okay, bye, Sue. Thanks for coming. This is the space of infinite possibilities. The ideas that just drop in, the things that just happen. You just happen to be at the right place at the right time. You happen to meet the right person that just knows exactly what you need to do. Like, this is the magical space. If you have experiences with that, or if you're like, yes, I totally get that, or yes, there have been times like that in my life, type a 1 in the chat. Because that is the energy of, it can be impossible. It can feel impossible, but it happens anyways. Okay, welcome. All right. Caitlin, Heather, Sandy, Monica, Rhonda. Yes. Everybody, right? We're like, yes, this is that we have had examples of this where things weren't supposed to work out. They weren't possibly going to work out, but they worked out anyways. So why do we spend so much time in this room trying to figure out how to make it happen when like it impossibly happens in the future anyways? Like it just like works itself out. I actually think that it's a gift. because on this side of it is actually learning or growth. If you've ever heard of the concept of shadow work is like the heavy things that happen, the hard things that happen when we're in this room, there's learning there. There is a gift there for us. There is some amount of like a little nugget that we can take from that experience. And that has been so with me. When I imagine, like, what if we erased this entire room and we only lived in this space? For a while, it would be pretty cool and fun. But I think over time, it might feel a little boring. It might also feel like there's no learning and growth at all. If I just knew that anytime I put my mind to something, I was just going to happen and that was going to happen. Personally, I feel like that would get boring after a while. I think that this is like the goal of life. Like we need to have both. We need to have this trust energy space, but we also need to have this attached space to show us what it feels like and also to like teach us. There's so much that I've been able to learn from digging into my shame voices and my shame beliefs. There's so much that I've been able to learn when I've dug into where is my self-doubt coming from? And are those self-doubt beliefs true? And how were they connected to my own childhood? Or how is it a belief that was passed down through my parents and my parents' parents and their parents' parents, right? There's so many cool things that I've been able to uncover as I've done this exercise. So what I want to leave with you before we do our subconscious process for today is this. It's an energetic problem. Whenever your brain is like, there is a problem, I need to create a solution right now, we don't want to create a solution. That is not the time to get in an argument with your partner. You know what Brene Brown always said, like her best piece of like marriage advice was to circle back, which means like if I'm feeling really intense feelings, we pause the conversation, we do not have it anymore, and we circle back later on. But for me, that is like when I'm in that energy of this, I know that the answer is not actually going to come, and it's an energetic problem, and I need to figure out how to solve for my energy then. Like, how can I shift my energy? How can I move through to this other side? Monica, the manifesting is the experience of the open trust and seeing how it happened, learning that it happens. Yeah, totally. You're like seeing this process and you're like, yes, that's amazing. And I can do that again and again and again and again. And it makes life interesting. So one thing I want to mention is when we're over here, we can really get into the space of like, I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be feeling this way. I need to move my energy and shift my energy right away so that I can get back into here. I want you to imagine that your energy is a little child. So a child comes up to you and they're feeling like shame or despair or self-doubt. And you sit them down on the couch beside you and you're like, I only have 90 seconds for you to feel. So I'm going to sit here, but only for 90 seconds with you. I can't handle like way too much of your emotion. So like, let's just like tone it down a little bit and you show like this much emotion to me. Okay. And also like, I need you to feel better at the end. Like in 90 seconds, you got to feel all the way better. You need to feel over here, right? That child is not going to feel accepted. They're not going to feel loved. That is not going to be supportive for them. They're not going to be helped by it at all. The only way to shift our energy is to imagine like it is a child. What does a child actually need then? They need to feel like it does not matter how much feeling you have, I can handle it all. It does not matter how long I have to sit here and feel this with you. I can sit here for as long as you need. And you do not have to feel better at the end. You don't have to feel anything. There is no end goal. There is no outcome for this feeling. You just get to be here and I will be here with you for as long as it takes. I was just reading this poem by Rumi. I wish I wrote it down, but I didn't. And he talks about how like life is just a series of visitors. Like we have this house and sometimes the visitors are joy, sometimes they're despair, sometimes they're sorrow, and they sweep through the house and like destroy everything in its wake. But don't worry because it's clearing us out for something new. And I read another poem and I don't remember what it was, but it said something along those lines, but it was like, and oftentimes when we fall asleep that we'll notice that our visitor is gone by the morning. And I was like, that's so true. Because even as we allow that process to happen, they never stay forever. They don't ever stay in this energy forever. And we actually get stuck in it more if we give ourselves restrictions. If we say, well, only can feel it this much or only for this much time. Okay, questions about this portion or comments? Anything you want to say before we get into our subconscious process? And this is now how I manifest. This is how I receive. I like the word receive better than manifest because manifest makes it seem like I have to actually do something. And take a lot of energy to get there. And I actually don't think I do. I think I need to have those clear desires for sure. But I think it's so much more about being in the energy of receiving the things that are already there for me. And so I always solve it as an energetic problem. If I'm feeling that way and my brain's like trying to figure this out and is like, it's impossible and there's no way. This just happened to me the other day. I was just doing my budget because we just finished a bunch of renovations. And I really dislike numbers. And my husband really loves numbers. And we sat down and we were doing this whole number conversation. And I was just like feeling myself get like more and more anxious and tense. And I was like, oh, anyways, it made him feel way better. It made me feel way less better. And I noticed I'm like, oh, I'm in attachment energy. My mind is telling me like, this is impossible. Like, we can't figure this out. Like, this is too many things. And as soon as I realized like, oh, this is an energy problem, I was just like, okay, cool. Like, think through that conversation. Gotcha. And then I like left, did my own thing, energetically did my detaching thing, did that for a couple of days, felt so much better for it afterwards. And I'm still not in the space where some like infinite possibility solution has happened, but I do know that it will happen because I've seen this process happen over and over and over again in every area of my life. Okay, are we ready? Is everybody ready to get into the subconscious stuff? Or does anybody want to talk about anything consciously first? Like, I don't know how this piece fits, or I don't know where I'm attached, or I'm not attached to anything. I feel good about all the things. And for those of you that just popped in over the last little while, think about something that you really, really want to create, some sort of goal or some sort of outcome. And then we're checking in energetically to see if we're feeling like rushed or needy or graspy or like it's impossible and it'll never happen about it. And keep that in mind as we go through our subconscious thing. If you're ready for the subconscious stuff, type a 1 in the chat. If you have a question or something. Thanks, Heather. Okay. You ready? We can chat about things consciously too if you want to talk before we get into this space. The reason that we do it subconsciously, by the way, is this. When we've understood that attachment is the problem, it means that shame is the problem. Shame is my favorite topic if you don't already know me yet. That's my absolute favorite thing to talk about ever. So once we know that we're attached, shame is the problem. There's some amount, even a tiny little amount of when I get that thing, I will feel good enough about myself. When I get that thing, I will feel whole within myself. When it's a shame problem, we can attack it consciously. I took a training through Brene Brown a couple of years ago once I certified through the life coach school, and I like loved it. And she talked all about how we need to like share our stories and we need to shine light on our shame. And I was like, yes, yes, yes. But there wasn't a lot of like processing. I was like, but then what? Like now I've shared my story and I'm sitting in my shame and I feel really bad. And now what do I do? And she does the shame stuff. She doesn't do a lot of the like, and now here. She'll kind of quote a few other people and be like, here, go to Kristen Neff. She does self-compassion or whatever. And that was the stuff that I ended up loving, was like the solution to the energy, right? The energy of shame that I am feeling. There is a way that I can move through that. Because I can't consciously talk through it. I could sit here and figure out what is the belief for each one of you under the surface that's blocking you from the thing that you want. I'll already tell you what they are, by the way, because we've done this over and over and over again. They're always something along the lines of, I'm not enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy of respect. I don't belong. I'm not loved. I'm not seen. I'm not heard. I'm not connected. There's something wrong with me. It will be one of those things. It's always one of those things. And once we uncover what that belief is, we could sit and consciously talk about it for 20 minutes and you wouldn't feel much better by the end. You might a little bit, but for the most part, you're going to be like, okay, great. Like, keep telling me how awesome I am. I don't actually believe you, right? Because shame is in our subconscious. It's this space that's like under the surface. It's not so conscious. So I can't just be sitting and talking to you through this stuff consciously. We have to get into something subconscious. And subconscious usually looks like meditation, hypnosis, visualization, something like that. Something where we're not attacking it in a conscious way. We're just processing through it in our body. It's much more a feeling in the body. It's much more a process in the body. Okay, I don't see any questions. So we'll get into it. So for this portion of it, you're going to get into a really comfy position, however you want. You can literally be like laying down on the ground. You can be standing up. You can be sitting cross-legged. So like move yourself around, get comfy. You do not need your pen and paper. At the end of this visualization process, you probably will want to spend a minute or two just writing down some things that came up for you. But you won't need it for now. So get yourself into the comfy spot and just make sure that you can hear me. You don't need to be able to see me or anything. So if you want to like just zen out, close your eyes, lay down, that's fine. And whenever you're ready, you can close your eyes. We always like to start with our breath. So once you get comfy, we're going to start with taking some deep breaths, and we'll also do just a little bit of movement just to kind of move our body. So as we're breathing, the breath that we're going to do today is in through the nose, and then we're going to exhale twice as long deeply out through the mouth. So just extend that inhale and then exhale. And as you do, I invite you to move your body. And all of our eyes are closed, so it does not matter how you move your body, but I want you to be intentional with moving your body in an intuitive way, which means, what does my body need right now? Does my body need me to shake, to roll my shoulders, to stand up and jump? Like, it does not matter what that is. What does matter is that I'm listening to what my body needs most right now. And we're going to spend the next couple of minutes just breathing and moving our body. I'm going to turn on some music. Moving in big movements, small movements. We're going to listen, we're going to breathe, and we're going to move. We'll be in this space for just a couple of minutes with our eyes gently closed, maybe rolling the shoulders, maybe clenching and unclenching different parts of the body. Just moving however it feels comfortable. Using this as an opportunity to really listen to yourself. Listen to what your body feels like it needs and how it wants to move. This is an exercise in self-trust and intuition as we listen more to our body. I'm going to keep going with that breath as we move in through the nose, exhaling twice as long out through the mouth. Maybe we move big movements, maybe gentle small movements. Maybe our body wants stillness. We're going to gently start slowing down our movements a little bit. If you've been doing big movements or loud movements, just start to slow things down. Maybe you already are. And as you do, we're going to deepen that breath a little bit, imagining it coming, our inhale coming from deep in our pelvic floor, stomach area, breathing in up through our lungs, chest, and head. We'll pause for a moment at the top of that breath. Then we'll exhale again in the opposite way, going from our head onto our chest, our stomach. And on the exhale, just slowly releasing, gradually, twice as long as that inhale. Still be moving here, but kind of finding our way to stillness over the next little bit. Let's do 30 more seconds of movement. Keep Keeping that breath going. All right. Now we're going to slow our movement down, slow our breath down. We're going to get really mindful. I'm going to count from 10 down to 1. And as I do, we're going to start at the top of our head. And we're just going to notice how our body feels. We're just going to relax it a little bit more. 10. Notice the top of your head, your scalp, the front of your forehead. 9. Your nose, maybe you notice how the breath feels as it goes in through the nose, even on the tiny little hairs of your nose. You feel the breath on that upper lip. 8. Maybe you notice the feeling on the exhale of that breath out through your mouth. Maybe your tongue and your jaw feel loose. Maybe release some of the pressure, tension you've been holding in your head. 7. Moving down to the neck and the shoulders. Maybe the head feels heavy on the shoulders. Maybe the shoulders feel relaxed and loose, like they're pulling down to the ground. 6. This heaviness and relaxation spreads down through your back, through your spine, all the way down to the base of your spine, down your chest and your stomach, through your organs. 5, down your arms and hands and fingers. 4, down your center. Everything feeling weighted and heavy, like you can feel the gravity around you just pushing down. Feeling loose and open. 3. Moving down to our legs, each leg feeling heavy and weighted, being pulled into the earth. 2. Both of your legs feeling so heavy. Ankles, toes, feet. 1. Your whole body feeling weighted down. Safe, secure, and also open. We're going to go to a normal breathing pattern. And we're going to think about a time where we felt this attachment. You can think about one of those things you wrote on your list that you want in the future. You can think about a time in the past where attachment was there. You could tell that there was something attached to something else someone said or did, something that didn't happen for you or did happen. And we're going to keep our mind open, allowing any memory to pop in. It doesn't have to be the right one. Just whatever comes in is the one for today. And in that memory, notice the feeling connected to the memory. Maybe you can see where you are or who else is there. But we're going to drop into the body, into the feeling of that energy, that memory. And we're going to allow the memory to release, to slide off the top of our head, down the back of our neck, off our shoulders and away. And we're stuck with this energy, this emotion. We can feel this attachment inside. We're going to drop even deeper into the body, feeling it as much as we can. Opening ourselves up to however much feeling wants to come in, welcoming it all in our body. Knowing that we can go back to our breath if it feels too much. I invite you to imagine that that feeling you're feeling inside is a child, any age. Just imagine child within you feeling this way. In fact, you open that child up to feeling even more of that feeling. You pour as much of that feeling into them as you can. They're inside you feeling all of these big feelings, so much of them. Imagine coming alongside them. You're both sitting on a couch. They're there and you're there. Put your arm around them. You just be with them. You listen to them. You let them say or do whatever they want without trying to make them feel any better or fix it. We just sit there and listen. Maybe they pause or slow down, and you can ask them to tell you anything they want, where it hurts, what they're feeling, what they're thinking. Just listen to them as they share. Maybe you notice the energy shift a little as you're listening to them. Maybe they start to feel a little different just by being heard by you. You know exactly what they're thinking and feeling because you are them. See if they need to share anything else. Maybe they don't even share in words. Maybe it's just in feelings. Then we're going to ask them what they need. If there's anything they need in order to feel safe, ask them what would feel comforting to them. Then you're going to imagine yourself giving them that. It doesn't have to make any sense. It can be a blanket, a stuffed animal, it can be a hug. Maybe they need to be held or rocked. Maybe they need words. Just sit there with them, giving them what they need. And notice as you do, again, their energy maybe starts to shift a little. Maybe they feel lighter, maybe they feel better. See if they need anything else. Maybe they need a warm, soft blanket or a hug. And as you sit there giving them what they need, you can feel the energy start to shift. You can feel them start to release as you allow them to just be there with you. And as this past energy shifts and moves out, maybe a new feeling moves in, a feeling of being heard, of being seen, of being loved. Maybe a feeling of being welcomed and supported. They can feel that feeling with you. We're going to pause here for a moment because all emotions have messages for us. Emotions are messages, usually from our body to our brain. And I want you to sit in this new feeling that you're feeling now, this new energy that you feel. And I want you just to ask yourself, is there a message for me here? It can be an image, a word, a thought, a feeling. I'm going to just pause for a moment. Once you feel complete, like you've received the message you need, you can just slowly go back to that breath in through the nose, exhaling twice as long out through the mouth. You can stay here for as long as you need. Maybe another message comes through. Sometimes I like to imagine not just past me, little me, but also future me, a version of me that's at the very end of my life, that knows so much, that is so wise. Maybe they come and share something with me. Maybe they just sit with me. We're going to slowly bring some movement back into our fingers and our toes, maybe wiggling them, maybe clenching and unclenching them as we go back to that breath in through the nose and exhaling twice as long out through the mouth. Sitting here for as long as you need. And we'll take at least 3 slow, deep breaths in through the nose, exhaling twice as long out through the mouth. Moving the body, maybe moving the hands or the shoulders, maybe giving our whole body a shake. Maybe squeezing our hands together. Whenever you feel complete, you can take those few breaths and then open your eyes and come back. We're going to move. I'm going to change the view so I can see you. Okay. So take a minute and you can write out in your journal something that came to you, ideas or insights that you had that you don't want to forget. You can also share those in the chat, but we will have a chance to share in a minute. And for those of you that are watching the recording, I would love to hear how it went for you. Okay, thanks for coming. As you're writing that down, I'll also share if anyone's interested in continuing this kind of work with me. I do one-on-one coaching for 12 months. So you can send me an email about that and we can set up a Zoom chat or we can chat over Instagram or whatever is easiest for you. But we coach every month for 12 months on these kinds of things, breaking up attachments in relationships, in business, and all the things. Thanks, Monica. And I also have a group program called the Creation Room. And if you're a one-on-one client, you get access to the Creation Room also. But the Creation Room is a group of women where we do all of this work together. So one-on-one coaching is available for both men and women. And the Creation Room right now is an intuitive group of women doing this work together. And we have different intentions every month. And our intention in February, going into February, is all about wintering. So it's going to be really cozy and awesome. I will put links in the chat to those programs too if you want to check them out, and I'll also send you them by email. Once you have written down a couple things, I would love to hear from you. You can either unmute yourself or you can type in the chat just something that came up for you. Anytime throughout this, it can be through the meditation portion, it can be throughout the class. And I'll also leave you with this idea of maybe our problems don't need solutions. Maybe our problems, the things that we're feeling stuck from or resistance to, just need us to shift our energy. They just need to be listened to. And that as we do that process, that opens up ourselves to that other room, that room of infinite possibilities, of intuition, of creative ideas and solutions that come that would never be able to come without shifting that energy. All right. Does anyone want to share? You can unmute yourself if it's easier, or you can type in the chat how that experience was for you or something you want to take away from class today. Or you don't have to. If you feel complete, you can just type a 1 in the chat. You're like, no, I feel good. Got everything I needed from this. I also have a few minutes to answer questions. I'll stay on for another couple minutes. And this recording will be sent out. So if you ever want to do that visualization we did at the end, you can do that again. Sandy, the lesson of failure in a particular area being that my heart wasn't really set on that goal, but wanting to find a feeling of belonging. Yeah. So many times when I do this exercise, Sandy, I'm like, I don't even want that goal. Like, where did that goal even come from? And why did I take it on? Because if it's coming from attachment, often it's not even the goal I want. Right? And this can be for anything. This can be for business. This can be for your body. This can be for your relationships. It can be money. It might not even be the goal that you want. And when you check in subconsciously, so much of it shifts because you're like, wait a second, if I just want to feel belonging and I can feel belonging now, then what is my goal? Then what is my intention? Right? Totally different energy to ask that from. Oh, thanks, Danae. Thanks for coming. It's a good recording. You'll like it. Where do I find the recording? Okay, so Rhonda, the recording will be sent out via email. It'll take a couple hours to like render and stuff, but I'll send it out to everybody that registered. Melissa feeling all the feels. Isn't it? I find it's like the most deep and awesome work to do where I can really understand, like, wait a second. Like if I am just whole now, as I am, and I'm enough, and I don't need more followers or more likes or more money or more beauty or more clients or all the things that I think that I need on the outside, like then what? Like if I feel success and love and whole right now, then what do I want to do? And that immediately sends me into that room of like creativity and curiosity and excitement energy. Forgiving myself, but seeing where is my forgiveness and where other people's shame brought on me is theirs, not mine. Yeah. I think a lot of this work is like we take on other people's shame. I tell people this all the time, but shame is like hot potato. You know that game Hot Potato where you're like, here, you take it, right? And you're just like tossing the hot potato around the circle. I don't know if you even know that game, but anyways, it was big when I was little. And as you toss around this hot potato, it just like spreads. It's like I would use the metaphor of COVID, but COVID's just too frustrating. But It just spreads. That is what shame does. It just wants to spread all of the time. So if somebody else is feeling shame and they interact with you in any way, you also feel shame. It just like they just push that onto you unless you understand, oh, they just threw me a hot potato and I can drop it. This is not my hot potato. And when I've been able to understand that, I've been able to communicate with people so much more effectively. I've been able to relate to people better because I understand, oh, that's just their shame that made them say that or do that or not say that or not do that. And I can drop the shame because I don't have to take it on. Anyone else want to share? These have been so good, such good shares. Thank you. I also think it's cool because this is the space to really create what you do want, right? Once you're non-attached and you're here and you're full and you're whole and you're enough, then what do you create? What does your business look like? What does your life look like? What does your relationship look like? What do you want to do in life? It's going to be really different. The answers are going to be very different than when you ask yourself from attached energy. In fact, now I don't even make a goal or an intention if I can tell that I'm attached. So I said that my intention for 2025 was to work on my body, and I could tell that I was attached. I could tell, and it wasn't a big attachment, but as I checked in energetically, there was some amount just like lingering there under the surface still. And so I didn't make a goal. And then I did like a subconscious hypnosis thing, and then it all transitioned and I felt way better about it. And I knew exactly what I needed to do going forward in a way that was completely non attached. And I've never, ever been able to have a body goal, health goal in the past that has been completely non attached before. And it's totally different. And it doesn't take so much like commitment or self discipline or like me pushing myself to do it. This thing that I really don't want to do, or that my brain is telling me it probably won't work or whatever, right? It feels so much more flowy and easeful. And like I don't even have to think about it because it will come in time. It will come when it needs to come. And it's not about the outcome. Melissa, I love hearing my future self telling me positive things I need to hear and realize I only need the love and acceptance from within myself and not others. That's my favorite also. My actual favorite thing. I wasn't planning on adding that like future self part, but I just really felt like it was needed. And I was like, oh, I love getting the wisdom within myself. Like not only the love and acceptance, but also that's where the wisdom is. That's where the ideas are. That's just where everything is. In fact, now my favorite thing to do is spend time with just myself because I'm like, oh, I love it. I just love being able to dig into all of this on my own. Hey, anyone else want to share what came up for them or an insight they had? If you don't, if you're like, I feel good, and type a one in the chat. You don't have to share. Sometimes we just want to keep it between us and our journal. Thank you. Thanks for coming, Heather. Thanks for sending us that great video too. It was awesome. Okay. For anyone that wants to talk more about this, talk more about this idea, this concept, that wants to work more on this, send me an email. I'll send you an email with the recording link. And if you're interested in either the creation room or one-on-one coaching, I'll share about it there also. And you can respond back to that email and we can chat about it. But this is the work I love doing. I think that shame and attachment are the things stop blocking us from whatever it is that we want in life. Communication with our partner, more wealth, more business, more health, whatever it is that we're looking for. And when we can drop these attachments and do this more subconscious work and get to the space of like, now what? Like now that I feel whole and good, now what do I want to create? Then the manifestation comes so smoothly. Okay. Thank you. Thanks everybody for coming. I'm going to pop off too. I got to go to a podcast recording interview. But thank you for being here. And I would love to chat more about this. So if you have like ideas that come as you're like, as this is percolating in your mind over the next few days, you can send me a message on Instagram or Voxer or email and just be like, what about this? Or like, this is actually the insight that I had, or this is what my future self wanted to tell me. and we can chat more about it. So thank you, everybody. And the recording will be sent out this afternoon. Yeah.